Welcome to the weekend. I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate, wishing Fond farewell, whatever the hell. Just get out of my life 2010. It wasn't a good year for me. It was a good year for every other Republican but me, but enough about me. So what's on tap for next year? We're going to find out from the Denver Post. Jessica Fender, who's been covering the State House for several years now, and to make anyone look good by comparison, Wayne Laugesen from the Gazette down in the Springs. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Nice
All right,
to be here.
You buddy. The one endorsement I thought would never happen was the conservative, free market Colorado Springs Gazette endorsing Hickenlooper for governor. And of course, you're the reason he won. So
of course.
I've known you for a long time. I thought you'd endorse Ron Paul first.
Well, given the choices that we had, and we brought John Hickenlooper in and had a long discussion with him, and he managed to convince the editorial board unanimously that he was unanimously. Yes, I went along with this.
It's amazing how you always agree with the boss. The owner says this.
That's not it. I went along with this. The board was unanimous that given the choices, he was the most limited government candidate of them all. He was the one who was most likely to keep government out of our lives. We had Tancredo, who wanted to impose an Arizona-style immigration law on us, and all questions sort of drifted to that answer eventually. That was clearly his focus and what he wanted to accomplish. That doesn't keep government out of our lives, and it certainly would cost Colorado dearly with you'd get a sort of Arizona-style boycott going, and that hasn't done that state any favors economically. So we had that, and then we had Mays. We weren't going to endorse, we couldn't endorse Dan Mays. That wasn't
He had his victory party
candidate
down on election night down in the Springs. So he felt tied to the Springs. I thought for sure you guys would do this. All right, let me see if I understand this. So Hickenlooper, who championed the fast tracks rip-off tax of 60% increase, Ref C and Ref D, the A through I debt increases, the bond for the new jail, pro-comp increase for the teachers. He has been the leader of more tax increases and
But
debt
he didn't impose them. In Colorado, he doesn't get to unilaterally impose a tax. And what he promised,
he made them happen.
He promised a tremendous reduction in the size of state government that he's going to achieve. He had a specific plan for doing so, which is to, first of all, get rid of a lot of state employees and then combine a lot of duplicate services in state government. He did get rid of a lot of employees in city government.
He's got $1 billion shortfall. We've got 12% of our budget is now not there. Of course he's going to shrink government. There's no other thing he can do.
He has no choice, but he has a plan for doing so. And he knows how he's going to get it done. And he was left standing. We weren't given other serious candidates to endorse. So we endorsed him.
Dan Mays walked into your office.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
So no, but wait, real quickly, he made promises sitting there talking to the board that if he were elected, we could hold him to. And we can remind him of some of the things that he promised to do in Colorado, which was almost entirely less government, more small business. So it sounded good.
It sounded, yeah.
Sounded good.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But
a date with me sounds good.
If you're, well, I wouldn't endorse that if you were the only man on. No, but
that's just the Colorado Springs talking.
There were no alternatives.
Let me bring it over here. Now, you've been in the State House long enough that the Governor Ritter really never seemed to fit in well in that role. That was my sense. Am I wrong on that?
Well,
he always seemed a little uncomfortable.
Ritter had a reputation for sort of being very hands-off, and I think that was difficult for people who are used to operating in that sphere to deal with. There used to be a lobbyist is used to being able to talk to a governor and at some point get a good feel for which way he's going to feel about legislation, what he's going to support. I know that he did a lot of work behind the scenes, but there were certainly he definitely had a reputation for not being.
What are people expecting from the new governor? I mean, we all kind of think we know Hickenlooper, but we don't know Hickenlooper.
I don't think people know what to expect. I really don't. I mean, the people in the Capitol who I've talked to kind of are viewing him at this point as a little bit of a wild card. He's a Democrat, but he's got this business reputation. He's got some interesting relations with labor, in the police union, that kind of thing.
Right, so the police union hates this guy.
Right. The police union.
And big businesses love this guy. Small businesses, I'm not that certain about. I mean, the Denver Chamber of Commerce, yeah, they love him. Those are the guys who get all the government contracts. But what about his style? I mean, what do we know about Hickenlooper? He's been a good, strong governor, but he's only had to deal with a handful of councilmen.
Sure.
He's got 100 people now who have to agree with him.
Right, and I mean, and as Denver mayor, that's basically an apolitical kind of nonpartisan thing. Well, not apolitical, but certainly it's not as partisan as the legislature. So now he's going to have just a mess of factions. He's not going to be able to dictate what proposals go before the legislature in the same way that I think folks say he was able to do in City Hall. He's going to have to deal with some unexpected volleys from political groups.
I'm wondering if that cornball pocket protector geek thing that he has sold so well to all metrosexuals like you in urban areas, I don't know if that's going to work well on the Western Slope and in Lyman, you know, and where there's a different style.
No, he's definitely going to have to put on his cowboy boots when he goes out west, and maybe even a hat.
Have made.
I have to say though that he has immediately shown himself interested in parts of the state other than Denver, which was a concern. I mean, 2 days after he was elected, he was in Colorado Springs giving a speech to business leaders. He is a businessman in Colorado Springs and in Denver. I think he's more a pragmatist than he is an ideologue or a doctrinaire. I don't think he's as doctrinaire as a lot of his opposition thinks he is. Now,
Man,
this may be proven wrong.
I hope you're right.
I do too.
I would feel better if, for instance, during the campaign, he opened up his contributions from his tax returns, because I would have a feeling we'd get a better idea of what kind of things this guy really wants. I keep hearing about a business-friendly politician, but all politicians are business friendly.
But he's been in business. The other two candidates were not self-made businessmen. So one of them claimed to be, but that wasn't true. Right. So you have a problem solver. You have someone who wants to get things done, and given a real conservative candidate, someone who had a solid limited government track record, we certainly would have gone with that. But there was nobody like that. So I do think that we're going to find out. I mean, one way or another, we're definitely going to find out.
Were you at all tempted to just go crazy and endorse a libertarian candidate, or?
No, because just marginal. Nobody's. Yeah, you're
wow, you remember 2 points for you.
Yeah, not that he was a bad candidate. He wasn't a viable candidate. So the Gazette, being the second
Dan
one,
Mays wasn't viable. I am so tired
there
of
are
this.
two large newspapers in this state, the Post and the Gazette. The Gazette does not want to be marginalized as a non-player in state politics, so we weren't going to.
You just care what all the other girls think about you at the party.
Well, there is that.
Let's bring it back to the
girls,
issues.
yeah.
Now we've got to have a Republican House by one single vote.
Right.
You know, the Democrats have had a pretty good run. What is that going to do now, though? How's the culture going to change? Frank McNulty is going to be the speaker. Amy Stevens will be the majority leader. I'm looking forward to it. These are good folks.
Well, it'll definitely be an interesting legislative session. But I'll start out by saying, that one vote majority, everyone thinks it should have been way bigger in the House, and everyone thinks that there should have been a better shot at the Senate, and that just didn't happen.
Yeah, it's amazing how the big Republican wave just passed by Colorado.
It's like high tide,
yet again.
Perhaps, but
Yeah,
it wasn't.
right.
It wasn't a tsunami.
But at least Republicans have the ability to block some bad things, at least from my point of view.
So, right, then there are a lot of ramifications from that. So, Republicans now at least have a toehold in the redistricting process, which is when all of the political lines are redrawn.
That comes up this year? This coming year in 2011?
That's up this year. And I'm not sure if it's going to be handled in the regular session. There's been some talk about maybe doing it over the summer, which is extra cost, but it also just sort of clears the way for people to deal with the budget. So it gives Republicans a say in that. It gives Republicans a way to block some of these the more hardcore Democratic bills, hardcore progressive bills, or liberal bills, however you want to say it.
That's actually going to help, I think, Hickenlooper.
I think so, too.
Because
yeah.
Hickenlooper's not going to have to veto